Patrick's fans, welcome back to Caglianone's Corner. I'm here with head coach Lenny Caglianone. Now, Lenny, you were able to coach a full 120 against the Northeast Generals, and I got to hear from at least your point of view what it was like.
Exhilarating, one word. But it's nice to be on the bench. I mean, obviously there was a little confrontation last time. I think anybody who's behind the bench at this level is emotionally invested. So sometimes that hijacks the narrative, rationale. But yeah, just to get through the weekend there, it was good to see.
And then our first home game of 2025 took place on Sunday. Not a very good result in terms of what we had been doing prior to that run. What really went wrong, do you think, in your kind of point of view?
I don't think we were invested. I don't think we wanted it. There was just no bite. Hey, I've told them multiple times, and we actually went over the goals in film yesterday, and then went over some of the chances, and it's just a continuous theme of us doing everything that we can to beat ourselves. So that's exactly what we did on Sunday, and we didn't capitalize on our scoring chances. We had some good fundamentals, and also again, we talked about the 3-3. I don't care. I mean, no one really cares, right? It's at that point when you're playing 3 games in 72 hours, the third game just comes down to whoever wants it more. You draw up systems, ideologies, all you want. Doesn't really matter, but and as well, I think our big dogs got to be our big dogs in big games. That answers your question.
And to also kind of add to that Sunday game, Carter Richardson starting for the Nordiques, one of the top goalies in the East right now. What's kind of the mentality that you try to drive through your team to play against a goalie of that kind of caliber?
Yeah, again, he played 3 games in 3 days, which is pretty unique for a goaltender, let alone a back-to-back on the weekend. But, excuse me, he played phenomenal. I told Nick after the game, it was Skurlik. I was super impressed, just given the workload in that time frame. So he was good, but I think no matter who we're playing, our identity falls down or can be dumbed down to us just being blue-collared, right? And then you get into a situation where I do think we made his life kind of hard on the blue paint, but he just had a good game too. Sometimes you're going to run into that, and I think that's what we had Sunday. It's a combination of us wanting to beat ourselves and a hot goalie. Sometimes you get away with games like that, pop pucks in. Shots were fairly even, so I don't think we were super perimeter on those. He played well. And the only thing you can do with goalies like him is just try to make his life hard. Get in his face, get in his paint, and hope that knocks him off his game.
And now this weekend, to continue our 6-game homestand, we host Elmira for the second time this season. However, it's a little bit different around this time, as 8 players from that opening day roster for us are currently on the team, and 3 of those players from that roster are now with Elmira. Does that kind of play any factor into that we're going against a few guys that are no longer with us on the team?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm always going to be transparent about every situation. I'm sure they're not going to be thrilled to come back here and see us on the other side of the bench. You always have a feeling, whether or not you're jaded or, PC way, hey, we don't like that guy, right? There's always going to be those emotions there, and I mean, it's just whoever capitalizes on those and is able to control them and maintain them. But I mean, it's a situation where, listen, this is a part of the sport. I think this is what people are so afraid to talk about. Just a little off topic here, but this is ultimately a business, right? When you move guys, you have to you have to transplant them, right, and they're in new surroundings. But if a guy doesn't fit with a program or an ideology or a coach, he's not going to develop, he's not going to progress, and he'll stagnate, and then it hurts the team overall, right, because the player doesn't fit, and now you're giving time to someone who's not going to be a contributor. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? They're young men. You shouldn't move them like that. You shouldn't make their life so turbulent. But then if you don't win, you don't get those new crop of players, right? It's a common theme in the world today. A lot of people want to point fingers and don't want to pick up a shovel and do the digging. So, yeah, I mean, for those guys, I guess you could say that. There's probably some emotions involved, but same thing for us, right? We got Beller and Elks. I'm sure they're probably chomping at the bit, right? Everybody wants to make a statement, but yeah, we got no issue with those guys on the other side. Horno and Jenner, great kids, and hope they're doing well.
And looking back on that matchup in early September, we split that weekend with a 6-2 loss opening night, followed by an 8-1 victory that game 2. Elmira is also currently in a spot where in their last 5 games, they've only won one of them, that coming on December 20th in an overtime win against the Generals. Do you take that into account in practice, that these guys are kind of in a low spot?
I don't think you realistically buy into any of those narratives. You just, again, have to have a consistent mindset that it doesn't matter who you're playing. The importance of the 60 minutes is just as important as the next one, right, and the one before. And you don't give anybody extra, superlatives or anything of that nature. It's just realistically, at the end of the day, you just got to make sure you go and play every game your hardest, play every team your hardest, regardless of the identity. That's what I tell those guys, right? Let me worry about the systems and the X's and O's and what I need to do in regards to making sure that the vehicle's in the right direction. You guys just go and, inject those systems into the game. So, yeah, I mean, you don't want to acknowledge that, because then we talk about the immaturity factor, and it's not just our team. I think it's the demographic in general. Their inability to just kind of be consistent. Start telling them, hey, they're backed against, they're backed against the cornerbacks or against the wall. Let our systems work. Let our ideology work. Don't add any protein or fat to the conversation.
Well said, Lenny. And fans, you can catch the games on NATV on Friday the 10th, Saturday the 11th, both 7 p.m. puck drops. Or if you're around, you can come down to the Danbury Ice Arena. Tickets are $10, and if you buy 3 or more, you get 15% off your total. Lenny, thank you for your time today.
Patrick, thank you very much. And I want to give a big shout out to Troy, our cameraman, who you can't see, who's always behind the camera. He does a wonderful job. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Troy.